Hey man, real stay safe shit. You already know what the fuck going on. We back at it again after the fucking Wi-Fi company try to cancel your boy. You already know it was probably K-Flock and his ops for revenge for my last video. But let's get into some shit. So basically today, Dior announced that his that Travis Scott and Cactus Jack's collab with Dior is basically postponed, if not canceled, basically. And a lot of people had a lot of different mixed messages about it. Some people felt like it was justified because of everything that happened with Astroworld, and then some people felt differently. But before we get into that shit, like, comment, subscribe, and let's run this shit the fuck up. You already know what the fuck is good. So here's what's good. So Travis Scott and Dior, they were supposed to drop a Cactus Jack collab. And basically in the collab, they were supposed to come out with a whole bunch of new stuff. Honestly, I didn't even know that this was about to happen until it basically got canceled. I think it was in development and then they basically got rid of it. But this is sort of like when his brand was like hella big and it was touching the masses. Hella people were buying it, not just like rap fans, but like people were buying it for their kids. Then Astroworld happened and then it was all dub. But the one question I have about this is, where does the responsibility ultimately lie in this situation? And are these companies going really too far with canceling these people? Because actually in reality, like Congress, they investigated Astroworld, and not once in their memo did they even name Travis Scott in Astroworld. They named that the purpose of like the securing everyone was Live Nation, and Live Nation was ultimately the people who failed in this situation. They didn't even name Travis Scott in their whole like congressional like hearing or whatever they had about the incident. And I feel like it's kind of impossible to even talk about him in the situation, because it's like he's at fault somewhat, but I really don't feel like he's the main person at fault in this situation, because I feel like there's people that are really that he hires to do this type of thing that should be in charge. On top of this whole situation, we have another fault with Live Nation that like they had with the Draco the Ruler situation. They were the people that were in charge of the actual Once Upon a Time in LA situation where Draco the Ruler died. So that's two situations already where Live Nation is definitely the like having issues with this. So ultimately the problem is Live Nation, rather not Travis Scott. Travis Scott does have blame in it, but the major problem is from Live Nation and the way they hold events and stuff. So when are these companies basically going to start holding that company accountable? They don't want to. They want to just push it on the blame on this guy, but it's really like we should be holding Live Nation accountable. Like it should be a type of situation where the opposite should be happening. I don't know if Travis Scott should have his whole career like continue. Like right now he shouldn't be performing, obviously, because people died. But I definitely feel like Travis Scott should not be the person that ultimately like years down the line is going to be the person that's held responsible for it, because it's not like he's the security, it's not like he's the guy that's like going around making sure. He's not the EMT. He's ultimately in charge of picking out the people to do that, but we don't even know what the role, his exact role was. He might have just been the face of it. Live Nation is ultimately the people. So instead of these companies like Dior and Cacti and like whatever canceling him, it should be like Coachella or like Rolling Loud or like any like festival, Lollapalooza for instance, that should be canceling Live Nation and not having Live Nation like have the performances and set up the festivals and set up security and stuff, because ultimately Live Nation is the ones that are like letting people die. There's already been like there's like those 9 people that died in Astroworld. They had a headliner die in LA in a festival that they were running. Like, man, that like what worse can you possibly get? For Live Nation, this is like the worst year that it possibly could happen. And I feel like Live Nation is ultimately not really saying anything because they want the brunt of the blame to go to Travis Scott. But really, he's just a performer. It could have happened with anyone performing that wants to see someone that's hype. And it's kind of crazy because ultimately, like, the thing that made him so popular to people, the thing that made him such a transformative figure, like his popularity, you feel me, is ultimately what killed him and killed his career. Because if he was like a nobody and people didn't really care about how hype he was and how lit his concerts were, and they didn't really care about his whole vibe and everything, there wouldn't be people rushing the stage when he's there. So ultimately, it's like his own popularity outgrew himself, and is the reason why he's going down where he's going down today. And it's just sad to see, man. And it's just interesting to see all these corporations cut ties and stuff. But it's like I wonder if they knew the risk when they first started doing it. And like, these companies, they know what they're doing. Honestly, I feel like they're doing this as like a press run. They're really doing this for publicity. Like the fact that they got Travis Scott into this position to have a collab for publicity, and they're ultimately announcing that they're not having the collab for publicity. Realistically, don't you think that these companies could have easily just have not said anything about the collab and then just let everything blow over and then have the collab a year from now? Like, I'm sure they'd have a little bit of backlash, but like they would have more people buying that stuff than not, you feel me? But it's like ultimately it's definitely a type of thing that people are gonna do just to try to like get publicity, you feel me? Like, why would they announce now that they're not having him? They just want to have it, so it's like they want a piece of the action, you feel me? His name is trending in the headlines and stuff, so it ultimately just gets people thinking that like, hey man, let's tap in with this guy in the opposite way. Let's tap in on his downfall, you feel me? And it's kind of sad, man, because it's like it's so unnecessary. Like, if you're gonna cut ties with someone, why are you gonna announce that you're cutting ties with them, you feel me? Like, that is the biggest question here. Like, when you just cut ties with them and be quiet about it or something and then just like chill out. But nah, niggas be like going in, having a whole press like conference, press reception, whole press release, everything press, like try to get everyone to know that they're canceling this guy in a way to try to save their brand, save face with their brand, man. If you really cared, like, you would not be doing that type of stuff. But I think they basically said it's postponed. I don't know if they said it was canceled, but it's basically canceled at this point, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Let's hope that it's good in the meantime, and let's hope that like in the end he ultimately like prevails. But it's going to be interesting to see. But all I know is Congress, they had that whole statement and they didn't even mention his name one time. So it's interesting to see, and it's going to be hopefully an interesting year next year. And let's see if these companies like not companies but festivals like Coachella and Rolling Loud and those places stop using Live Nation as like the person that really runs the whole festival. If they do stop, then I see that there's faith in this shit. But if they don't stop and they keep having these people on and keep promoting these companies that are like literally out here killing people and cutting corners and stuff, it's definitely just gonna hurt the industry more. On top of that, the Omicron variant and everything's happening, so it's definitely not a look